The grand ballroom glittered with lights, laughter, and champagne. Guests whispered excitedly, unaware that tonight was about to become a night they'd never forget. Mark adjusted his tie, a sly grin on his face. Tonight, after 25 years of marriage, he finally thought he had the perfect chance to humiliate Vanessa in front of everyone she loved. Every detail had been planned. The anniversary surprise, the photos, the captions, everything designed to make her feel small. He leaned toward his friends, whispering, "Wait and see. Tonight she'll be embarrassed like never before." Vanessa, meanwhile, smiled softly. Calm, poised, completely aware of the storm Mark thought he had created. And little did he know, she wasn't just prepared. She was planning her own unforgettable revenge. The dinner began, but every polite laugh, every clink of glasses was just part of the stage. Vanessa listened, watched, and waited. She knew exactly what Mark wanted. A public moment to shame her. But here's the twist. Vanessa had been quietly recording, saving and plotting for years. Every misstep, every embarrassing moment of Mark's she had noted with a careful eye. And tonight, she was about to turn the tables in a way he would never, ever see coming. As the lights dimmed for the surprise, Mark's heart raced with anticipation. He imagined her face turning red, her pride shattered. He imagined the applause as everyone laughed. At her expense, but Vanessa's smile only grew. She raised her glass and whispered to herself, "This is going to be the night you regret." The screen flickered to life, and the first photos appeared. Mark's carefully chosen images of Vanessa, designed to embarrass her. The room chuckled. Mark leaned back, satisfied. He thought he had won, but Vanessa had the last laugh. And when the next slide appeared, it would shock everyone in that room, especially him. The lights in the grand ballroom dimmed further, leaving only the golden glow of chandeliers to shimmer off the polished floor. A hush fell over the crowd as the first notes of soft piano music floated through the air. Mark's fingers drummed nervously against the table. Tonight, he thought, would be the night that Vanessa finally showed her vulnerability in front of everyone. The screen flickered to life, and the first image appeared. It was Vanessa, years ago, at a company gala. She looked radiant in a sapphire gown, her laughter frozen in the photograph. A caption appeared below. Even back then, she stole the spotlight, probably ruining someone else's big moment. Mark's lips curved into a smug smile. This was perfect. Subtle, clever, slightly humiliating. No one would see it as cruel. Yet the message was clear. Vanessa had always been the one everyone admired, and tonight he thought he would finally turn the tables. He leaned toward their friends, whispering, "Watch how she reacts. She won't be able to hide her embarrassment." Vanessa sipped her champagne calmly, her eyes scanning the room. Her smile never wavered. Every polite chuckle from the audience was like music to Mark's ears, but Vanessa felt a quiet thrill coursing through her. She knew the game was on, and she had every intention of winning it. As the slideshow continued, Mark had carefully chosen images. Vanessa laughing at a friend's joke, captioned, "Always the center of attention." A photo from her 40th birthday, when Mark himself had gifted her the cake, captioned, "Pretending to be surprised again." A candid shot of her at a charity event, looking elegant and composed, captioned, "Even here," making everyone else feel small. The guests laughed politely, the kind of laughter that masks discomfort. But Vanessa's eyes were sharp, assessing, calculating. She had noticed the captions and the subtle smugness in Mark's expressions. And deep down she was smiling, not because she felt embarrassed, but because she already knew what her next move would be. Mark's confidence grew with each slide. He imagined the whispers behind Vanessa's back, imagining people thinking, "Finally, she's been humbled." Every clink of glasses, every polite chuckle was fuel to his ego. And then it happened. Vanessa pressed a small button hidden in her hand. The screen flickered. The images Mark had so carefully selected vanished, replaced by slides of Mark himself. The first was from his college days, awkwardly posing in a tight suit. The next showed him mid-speech, gesturing wildly, clearly off balance. Another captured a private moment he thought was hidden. A fall on a ski slope, frozen in humiliating perfection. The captions were clever, not cruel. Some things never change. Grace under pressure. Sometimes. Master of style. Or disaster. Gasps filled the room. The polite laughter turned into genuine amusement. Guests leaned in, their eyes sparkling with delight at the unexpected twist. Mark's smug smile faltered. Confusion and shock replaced his confidence. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. Vanessa's voice rang out, clear and controlled, over the soft piano music. Sometimes the best surprises are the ones you never see coming. Every eye in the room was on her. Every heartbeat seemed to synchronize with the rising tension. Mark's humiliation was complete, not in a cruel, mean-spirited way, but with elegance, wit, and undeniable charm. Vanessa had taken the narrative and she had flipped it. For the first time in years, Mark realized something he had never admitted to himself. Vanessa was always 2 steps ahead. She had known all along how to protect herself. And tonight she had proven it spectacularly. The screen continued to show more images. Small moments he had forgotten. Private gestures, clumsy mishaps. But the room erupted in laughter and applause. Vanessa remained poised, smiling, letting Mark sink into the embarrassment he had so proudly orchestrated. And then she leaned toward the microphone, her voice dropping just enough to make Mark's stomach twist. Mark always thought he could control the narrative. Tonight, the story belongs to me. The crowd erupted in applause. Some guests whistled. Others laughed until tears formed in their eyes. Mark's face burned red. His plan had failed spectacularly. Vanessa, calm and radiant, had not only defended herself, but claimed victory in front of everyone. The twist wasn't just in the images or captions. It was in the precision, timing, and sheer audacity of Vanessa's comeback. She had turned what could have been a night of humiliation into a night of triumph. Mark sank into his chair, speechless. The room buzzed with admiration for Vanessa. Whispers floated around. How did she do that? She's brilliant. I can't believe he tried that. Vanessa raised her glass again, smiling at Mark with gentle mockery. Here's to 25 years of surprises, and to the ones we don't see coming. Mark swallowed hard. Humiliation was one thing, but realizing he had underestimated her for decades was a bitter pill. And Vanessa? She had the last laugh. The 25th anniversary was approaching, a milestone that should have been filled with joy, nostalgia, and celebration. But for Marcus, it had become something else entirely, a stage for humiliation. He had spent months carefully plotting every detail of the evening to embarrass Vanessa in front of family, friends, and colleagues. Every seating arrangement, every toast, even the music had been subtly orchestrated to make her appear foolish or insecure. Vanessa, however, was not blind to his intentions. Over the years, she had learned to read Marcus's moods, recognize his manipulations, and quietly prepare for moments like this. While he was plotting humiliation, she was quietly preparing a counter-strategy, a plan, to turn his scheme back on him without losing her grace. Vanessa's plan. Vanessa knew that control was key. She had booked the grand ballroom of an elegant hotel, ensuring that every detail from flowers and lighting to the menu and music was exactly as she wanted. She had enlisted her daughter, Emily, and a few trusted friends to assist discreetly, ensuring that the stage was perfectly set. Her most crucial move was a subtle one, a video compilation capturing years of Marcus's small manipulations, sarcastic remarks, and moments meant to belittle her. Carefully edited, it told a story of his pattern of behavior without exaggeration, allowing the truth to speak for itself. Marcus's approach. Marcus entered the ballroom wearing his usual confident smile, ready to charm the guests and deliver his cutting remarks with an air of humor. He had rehearsed his jokes, timed his expressions, and imagined Vanessa shrinking under the weight of his words. He didn't realize, however, that Vanessa had anticipated nearly every move he would make that evening. The gathering. The guests began arriving, dressed in their finest attire. The ballroom sparkled with gold and ivory decor, crystal chandeliers reflecting warm light across the room. Soft instrumental music played, creating an elegant ambiance. Vanessa entered, radiating calm confidence, her smile subtle but powerful. Hidden cameras recorded every angle, every reaction, every interaction, capturing the evening in its entirety. Marcus scanned the room and immediately noticed Vanessa. His planned jokes and barbed comments were ready, but the sight of her composed, poised, and confident unsettled him in a way he hadn't expected. Tonight, he thought he would be victorious. But the first moments indicated a shift in power he hadn't accounted for. The first move. Dinner was served. Marcus leaned slightly toward Vanessa, speaking with a tone that was meant to be playful yet sharp. "Is that dress really the best choice for tonight?" he said, smirking, expecting laughter from nearby guests. Vanessa's response was calm and measured. "Perhaps," she said, but bold choices are often the ones remembered. Her words were soft, yet carried an unmistakable confidence, leaving a moment of silence in the room. Guests exchanged glances, some impressed, some surprised. Marcus's carefully constructed smirk faltered for a split second. The subtle unraveling. Throughout the evening, Marcus continued his attempts to belittle Vanessa, jokes about past decisions, veiled criticism of her family, and sly remarks about her personality. Each time Vanessa responded with humor, grace, or a simple confident smile, never revealing frustration or discomfort. Meanwhile, Vanessa orchestrated the subtle build-up to the evening's climax. She waited for the perfect moment to reveal the truth, a visual testament to Marcus's manipulations, laid out in a way that was undeniable yet tactful. The reveal. As dessert concluded, Vanessa excused herself briefly, returning with a small remote in her clutch. "I thought it might be fun to revisit a few memories," she said softly, her eyes meeting Marcus's with a quiet certainty. The ballroom screens lit up. A video played, showing Marcus's subtle manipulations, sarcastic comments, and moments intended to belittle Vanessa over the years. The footage was not exaggerated. It was real, undeniable, and revealing. Gasps filled the room. Whispers spread as guests began to grasp the pattern. The man who had intended to humiliate his wife now sat frozen, watching the truth of his behavior unfold in front of everyone. Marcus's confident smirk dissolved. Laughter he had imagined, replaced by silence, unease, and recognition. The guests' reaction. The crowd slowly began to understand the scene. Vanessa's composure, intelligence, and subtle brilliance were impossible to ignore. What had been intended as a humiliation, for her had become a public revelation of Marcus's pettiness. She stood tall. 25 years together teaches you many lessons, Vanessa said, her voice calm but commanding. One of the most important is that truth, patience, and dignity will always prevail over deceit and cruelty. Applause filled the ballroom, genuine and heartfelt. Marcus lowered his gaze, aware that the evening had spiraled beyond his control. Every attempt to assert dominance had backfired spectacularly. The silent message. The night was more than a celebration, it was a statement. It proved that manipulation and humiliation might offer temporary power, but intelligence, courage, and strategy endure. Vanessa had not only defended herself, but had transformed the entire evening into a testament of her strength. Marcus had planned to humiliate. Vanessa had planned to reveal, and in the end, the last laugh, undeniable and complete, belonged to her. The anniversary evening was in full swing. Guests mingled, laughter floated through the air, and the grand ballroom shimmered under the soft glow of chandeliers. Marcus, confident and calculating, believed the stage was perfectly set for his long-planned humiliation. He had envisioned this night countless times. Vanessa exposed, flustered, and visibly embarrassed in front of friends, family, and colleagues. Each joke, each subtle insult, was meticulously timed to maximize the discomfort. To him it was entertainment. To Vanessa, it was another challenge she had already anticipated. Marcus makes his move. After the main course, Marcus leaned toward Vanessa with a playful smirk. "Do you really think this speech is necessary?" he whispered, referring to the toast she had been preparing. His tone was casual, but the mockery was deliberate. "I mean, everyone knows how you overthink things." Guests nearby chuckled nervously, unsure whether to laugh or intervene. Vanessa's smile remained serene, her composure unshaken. "Overthinking sometimes leads to better results," she replied smoothly, her voice calm, almost melodic, yet carrying an unmistakable edge. Marcus's smirk faltered slightly. He hadn't expected such a measured response. Encouraged by what he thought was a small victory, Marcus stood and raised his glass. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, loud enough for all to hear. "We all know Vanessa is sweet and elegant. But let's not forget, sometimes elegance hides, well, a little unpredictability." His tone carried a subtle jab, and he expected polite laughter or awkward shifting in seats. Vanessa remained seated, calm and collected, allowing Marcus to expose his own insecurities without interference. But she had her own plan, and the moment had been carefully timed. Vanessa's quiet preparation. Earlier that evening, Vanessa had ensured that a few key guests had discreetly noticed her preparations. Hidden cameras and a laptop connected to the main screens. She had also prearranged a signal to Emily, her daughter, to start playing the video at the right moment. The video was a compilation of Marcus's past behaviors over the years. Small humiliations disguised as jokes, sarcastic remarks, subtle manipulations, and moments when he had tried to assert dominance over Vanessa. Each clip was short, precise, and undeniable, designed to reveal his pattern without exaggeration. Vanessa watched him carefully, noting every twitch of his smirk and every falter in his tone. The timing had to be perfect. The reveal needed to be public, undeniable and utterly convincing. The reveal. As Marcus continued his playful verbal attacks, Vanessa gave a subtle nod to Emily. In a few seconds, the screens around the ballroom lit up, and the video began to play. Gasps immediately spread through the room. Faces went from polite curiosity to stunned recognition. Marcus watched, frozen, as years of his carefully hidden behavior were laid bare. Every attempted jab, every subtle insult, every belittling moment he thought he had hidden was now visible for everyone to see. Vanessa remained seated, her expression calm, her composure absolute. She allowed the video to speak for itself, knowing that the truth would resonate more than any words she could utter. Marcus's reaction. For the first time that evening, Marcus faltered completely. His confident smirk evaporated, replaced by disbelief and a creeping sense of panic. He realized too late that Vanessa had anticipated every move. The man who had come prepared to humiliate was now the one being exposed. A few guests whispered among themselves, noting the irony. Marcus's plan had not just failed. It had backfired spectacularly. Vanessa's calm, measured demeanor contrasted sharply with his flustered, vulnerable posture, and the difference did not go unnoticed. The guest's response. The room erupted, not with laughter at Vanessa, but with admiration for her intelligence, patience, and strategic brilliance. Friends and family recognized the subtle power dynamics at play. They could see clearly that Vanessa had not only maintained her dignity, but had orchestrated a public demonstration of Marcus's true character. Conversations shifted from small talk to quiet, acknowledgments of Vanessa's composure and foresight. She had transformed what could have been a humiliating evening into a testament of her resilience. Vanessa's words. Once the video ended, Vanessa stood gracefully. Her voice, calm yet commanding, echoed through the ballroom. 25 years of marriage teaches you many lessons. One of the most important is that dignity, truth, and patience always prevail over deceit and cruelty. Tonight was a reminder that power built on manipulation is fleeting, but strength built on intelligence and composure endures. Applause followed, genuine and heartfelt. Marcus, who had imagined himself the master of the evening, sat with a lowered gaze, realizing that his efforts had accomplished the exact opposite of what he intended. The turning point. The evening continued, but the dynamics had shifted irrevocably. Vanessa had turned a potentially humiliating situation into a public triumph. Marcus, once confident in his control, was now silent, humbled, and acutely aware of his own vulnerabilities. Vanessa's friends and family discreetly approached her, congratulating her on her poise and insight. It was clear that she had not only defended herself, but had also delivered a subtle, elegant lesson to Marcus in front of everyone. The unspoken lesson. The night was more than an anniversary celebration. It was a lesson in patience, strategy, and intelligence. Vanessa had demonstrated that humiliation and deceit, no matter how carefully planned, cannot overpower foresight, dignity, and composure. Marcus had entered the evening with the intention of asserting dominance. Vanessa had entered it with the intention of revealing truth. And by the night's end, the last laugh, graceful, undeniable, and complete, belonged to her. The ballroom was still buzzing from the video reveal. Conversations had shifted. Laughter and small talk were replaced with whispers of admiration and quiet acknowledgments. Vanessa stood tall, radiant, and composed. As Marcus sank into a chair, his ego bruised and pride wounded. It was a victory unlike any other. A victory not born from anger or revenge, but from intelligence, foresight, and calm determination. Vanessa had orchestrated the evening with precision, turning what could have been a night of humiliation into a demonstration of grace, strength, and strategic brilliance. The emotional high. For Vanessa, the real victory wasn't in humiliating Marcus back, but in reclaiming her narrative. Every subtle insult, every manipulative gesture from the past 25 years had been countered. Not with confrontation, but with preparation and strategy. She had shown that dignity and patience could turn the tables more effectively than anger or aggression ever could. Her friends and family quietly gathered around, offering congratulations. Emily, her daughter, hugged her tightly. "Mom," she whispered, "you were incredible. Everyone saw it. Everyone knows now. Vanessa smiled, feeling a surge of pride. She had protected herself, preserved her dignity, and demonstrated an undeniable truth. Strength lies in intelligence and composure, not in retaliation or cruelty. Marcus's realization. Marcus sat silently, unable to formulate a response. Every joke he had rehearsed, every sly comment he had planned, now seemed petty, cruel, and transparent. The humiliation he had intended for. Vanessa had not only failed, but had become a reflection of his own arrogance and lack of foresight. He watched Vanessa as she interacted with the guests, her confidence intact, her grace unshaken. For the first time, he realized that his perception of control had been an illusion. Vanessa had always been in command, not of him, perhaps, but of herself and the narrative surrounding their relationship. The quiet shame settled in slowly. Marcus knew there was no witty comeback, no clever remark, and no charm left that could undo what Vanessa had achieved. Her victory was absolute, public, and undeniable. The guests' perspective. Guests who had once seen Marcus as the charming, clever husband now observed him differently. They recognized Vanessa's brilliance, her subtle planning, and the elegance with which she had handled a potentially tense situation. Conversations among the guests turned to her strategy, how she had anticipated every move, how she had maintained calm and dignity, and how she had transformed a potential humiliation into a public triumph. Many quietly compared their own relationships and experiences, realizing that intelligence, preparation, and composure often outweighed loud bravado. Vanessa, always graceful, did not gloat. She allowed the evening to continue naturally, letting her actions speak louder than words. Her presence alone sent a message. Control and power often belong to the one who stays composed, thinks ahead, and responds with strategy rather than emotion. Private reflection. Later that evening, once the guests had departed and the celebrations wound down, Vanessa and Marcus were left alone. The tension in the room was palpable, but Vanessa's demeanor remained calm. She did not speak immediately, letting the silence communicate the weight of the evening. Marcus finally broke it, his voice low and measured. "Vanessa, I didn't see it coming." Vanessa looked at him with a steady gaze. "You should have," she replied softly yet firmly. "All these years I've known how you operate. Tonight was just a matter of timing." The words struck him, not as anger, but as truth. He realized that Vanessa's strength had never been about confrontation, aggression, or loud victories. It was about foresight, intelligence, and patience. She had won without losing her dignity, and in doing so, she had shown him the error of his ways more effectively than any argument ever could. A turning point. The anniversary, which Marcus had intended to use as a stage for humiliation, had instead become a turning point in their relationship. For Vanessa, it was a reminder of her own capabilities, a validation of years of composure, and a demonstration of her strategic mind. For Marcus, it was a humbling lesson in understanding the consequences of underestimating someone, in recognizing the power of patience, and in appreciating the strength of his wife, strength that had always been there but had never been fully acknowledged. Vanessa knew that true victory did not lie in punishing him, but in asserting herself, reclaiming her narrative, and showing that manipulation cannot prevail against intelligence and dignity, moving forward. The following days brought reflection and change. Guests continued to speak of the anniversary, not in whispers of gossip, but in admiration of Vanessa's courage and intelligence. Marcus, though still grappling with his bruised ego, began to recognize the depth of Vanessa's strength. Vanessa continued her life with grace, now carrying the quiet satisfaction of having turned a potentially painful situation into a moment of empowerment. She had proven that intelligence, composure, and strategic thinking could overcome cruelty and manipulation. And most importantly, she had the last laugh, not in mockery, but in triumph, dignity, and undeniable truth. The unspoken truth. The anniversary was over. The guests had left, but the lessons lingered. Vanessa's victory was not just personal, it was universal. It reminded everyone present that true power lies not in domination, ridicule, or clever insults, but in self-respect, preparation, and the wisdom to act with foresight. Marcus had planned to humiliate. Vanessa had planned to reveal. The evening proved that cunning can be met with even greater intelligence. Arrogance can be countered with composure, and cruelty can be met with grace. In the end, Vanessa had not only survived Marcus's scheme, but had transformed it into a testament of her brilliance and inner strength. And that, more than anything, was a victory that no one could take away. The following morning, the anniversary seemed almost surreal. The grand ballroom, now empty, held only faint echoes of laughter, applause, and whispered conversations. Vanessa awoke with a sense of quiet triumph, a gentle smile playing on her lips. The previous evening's events replayed in her mind, not with bitterness or anger, but with clarity, calm, and the satisfaction of a plan executed flawlessly. For 25 years, she had navigated a marriage filled with subtle manipulation, occasional insults, and the constant tension of being underestimated. Marcus had always thought his confidence, charm, and occasional sharp remarks gave him control, but Vanessa had known better. She had quietly built her strength, patiently waiting for the right moment to assert it. And last night, she had done exactly that. Morning reflections. As sunlight streamed through the bedroom windows, Vanessa sat with a cup of tea reflecting on the night. The guests' reactions, the moment Marcus's smirk faltered, the silence when the video revealed his true patterns, all of it played vividly in her mind. But what lingered most was not satisfaction or revenge, but the reaffirmation of her own strength. Strength, she realized, was not about retaliation. It was about foresight, composure, and clarity of mind. She had maintained her dignity, allowed the truth to speak for itself, and emerged victorious, not by anger but by strategy. Her phone buzzed with messages from friends and family. Congratulations, praise and admiration. The consensus was clear. Vanessa had not only survived Marcus's scheme but had demonstrated brilliance, resilience, and an unparalleled sense of composure. Marcus's silence. Meanwhile, Marcus faced the aftermath of his own making. The embarrassment, subtle though it had been, weighed heavily on him. He had entered the evening imagining dominance, only to find that control had always resided with Vanessa. In private moments, he replayed the night in his mind. Each attempt to belittle her, each joke meant to undermine, now appeared petty, transparent, and above all, ineffective. For the first time in years, he realized that his arrogance had blinded him to Vanessa's intelligence, foresight, and unshakable composure. He remained silent around her that morning, not out of spite but out of contemplation. Words he understood could not undo what had been so clearly revealed. Actions, strategy, and perception had spoken louder than any argument ever could. Vanessa and Emily sat together at breakfast. Emily's eyes shone with pride and a hint of relief. "Mom," she said softly, "you handled everything perfectly. I can't believe how calm and smart you were." Vanessa reached over, holding her daughter's hand. "Thank you, Emily, but it wasn't just about me. It was about showing that integrity and intelligence always carry more weight than words meant to harm." Their conversation lingered on the lessons of the night. Strength, patience, and the ability to plan thoughtfully were far more powerful than anger or spite. Vanessa had embodied all of these qualities, transforming what could have been humiliation into empowerment. Marcus's acknowledgement. Later, Marcus approached Vanessa quietly. His demeanor was subdued, respectful, and tinged with humility. "Vanessa," he began, his voice measured. I realize now how wrong I was. I underestimated you. I see your strength and I respect it." Vanessa looked at him steadily, her eyes calm but resolute. "Acknowledgement is a good first step," she said softly. "Understanding the consequences of one's actions is better. But remember, true strength isn't measured by how you think you can dominate someone. It's measured by how they respond to challenges." Marcus nodded, silent. For the first time, he comprehended the depth of Vanessa's intelligence, foresight, and dignity. His pride had been humbled, not by confrontation, but by the undeniable truth of her strategy. Life after the anniversary. Days passed, and life slowly resumed its normal rhythm. The anniversary, once anticipated with tension and anxiety, had become a defining moment. A story of courage, intelligence, and grace that friends, family, and colleagues would remember for years. Vanessa continued her daily routines, but with a renewed sense of empowerment. She knew that control in any relationship, or in life, came not from force, charm, or manipulation, but from preparation, clarity, and calm confidence. Marcus, too, began to adjust. He approached interactions with Vanessa differently, no longer seeking to dominate, humiliate, or test her. Though prideful and still learning, he now recognized her strength, and with time, began to show a willingness to respect the intelligence and composure that had so decisively shifted the balance between them. A lasting lesson. The 25th anniversary became more than a celebration of years together. It became a symbol of truth prevailing over manipulation, intelligence prevailing over cruelty, and composure prevailing over arrogance. Vanessa's victory was not loud or vengeful. It was quiet, strategic, and complete. The anniversary, though planned by Marcus as a stage for humiliation, instead highlighted the power of patience, foresight, and dignity. Vanessa had achieved the ultimate victory, not through anger, confrontation, or retaliation, but through calm, thoughtful, and strategic action. And in that victory lay a universal truth. Manipulation may attempt to undermine, but foresight, intelligence, and dignity will always endure. Vanessa had the last laugh, not in mockery, but in triumph, in grace, and in undeniable truth. Weeks had passed since the 25th anniversary, yet the memory of that evening lingered vividly. For Vanessa, for Marcus, and for everyone who had attended, the grand celebration, intended as a display of humiliation, had instead become a lasting testament to the power of foresight, dignity, and strategic thinking. Vanessa moved through her days with a quiet confidence. Friends, colleagues, and family often referenced the anniversary as an example of grace under pressure. Each conversation reminded her that the victory she had achieved was more than personal. It was a demonstration of universal truths about human relationships, integrity, and resilience. Reflections on strength. Vanessa often found herself reflecting on what had brought her to this moment. Strength, she realized, was not loud or aggressive. It did not announce itself with anger or confrontation. True strength lay in patience, careful planning, and an unwavering commitment to dignity. Her experience with Marcus had taught her that people could attempt to dominate, manipulate, or humiliate, but that the most effective defense was preparation, awareness, and composure. She had turned what could have been a night of embarrassment into a night of empowerment, proving that intelligence and foresight could outmaneuver cruelty every time. Teaching through example, Vanessa became more than just a participant in her own story. She became a quiet teacher through example. Friends and younger family members began asking for her guidance on handling difficult situations, particularly those involving manipulation, subtle power plays, or emotional challenges. "I learned to observe first, react second," Vanessa explained to Emily one afternoon, her voice calm and steady. Rushing into confrontation often escalates problems. Understanding the situation fully, preparing carefully, and responding with strategy, this is how you maintain dignity and strength. Her advice resonated. It wasn't just about surviving difficult situations. It was about thriving, reclaiming control, and transforming challenges into opportunities for growth and learning. Marcus's transformation. Marcus, though initially humbled, began to reflect deeply on his own behavior. He realized that his arrogance, impatience, and reliance on charm had blinded him to Vanessa's intelligence and composure. Over time, he sought to approach their relationship differently, not as a battle to dominate, but as a partnership built on respect, understanding, and mutual appreciation. The anniversary had been a turning point. It was not about punishment or revenge. It was about revelation and recognition. Marcus learned that power rooted in manipulation was temporary, but respect earned through integrity and composure endured. Life lessons for all. The story of Vanessa and Marcus carried lessons far beyond their personal lives. Those who witnessed the anniversary, or heard about it later, understood key truths. Preparation is power. Anticipating challenges, understanding dynamics, and planning responses is far more effective than reacting impulsively, because dignity is indestructible. Maintaining composure in the face of humiliation or cruelty preserves one's strength and credibility. 3. Truth prevails. Manipulation and deceit may work temporarily, but transparency, intelligence, and foresight reveal the real character of people over time. 4. Strategic patience. Timing matters. Responding at the right moment, rather than reacting immediately, amplifies effectiveness, if empowerment over revenge. True victory is not about retaliation. It is about reclaiming control, asserting one's narrative, and demonstrating strength with grace. Vanessa's story became a subtle legend within their circle, cited as a lesson in leadership, relationships, and personal integrity. She had shown that even the most carefully laid plans of manipulation could be countered by foresight, composure, and intelligence. A renewed partnership. Over the months following the anniversary, Vanessa and Marcus began to rebuild their relationship, not without effort, but with understanding. Marcus's ego, though still present, was tempered by recognition of Vanessa's capabilities. Vanessa, while gracious, remained vigilant and composed, ensuring that past patterns of manipulation could not recur. Together, they learned to communicate more effectively, to respect boundaries, and to value strategic thinking and composure over impulsivity or control. Their marriage, once fraught with subtle power struggles, began a new chapter, rooted not in domination or fear, but in mutual understanding and appreciation of each other's strengths. Legacy of the anniversary. The 25th anniversary had been intended by Marcus as a spectacle of humiliation. Instead, it became a defining moment of empowerment, foresight, and dignity. Vanessa had transformed a night of potential, embarrassment into a lasting lesson, for herself, for Marcus, and for everyone who witnessed the event. It was a story that would be remembered not for scandal, ridicule, or drama, but for the quiet brilliance of strategy, the power of composure, and the triumph of integrity over cruelty. Vanessa's victory was complete, lasting, and profound, an enduring testament to the strength that lies in intelligence, patience, and self-respect. Final thought. In life, there will always be those who seek to undermine, manipulate, or belittle. But Vanessa's story proved that with preparation, awareness, and dignity, it is possible to not only withstand such challenges, but to emerge stronger, wiser, and victorious. Humiliation can be temporary, anger can be fleeting, but foresight, composure, and intelligence endure, and when wielded with grace, they produce a victory far more powerful than any moment of revenge could ever achieve. Vanessa had the last laugh, not in mockery, not in anger, but in triumph, in wisdom, and in undeniable truth. And that, above all, would be her legacy.